Okay, hello everyone, my name is Random Gamer Riven and welcome to a look at the Wonder Boy Anniversary Collection. We've looked at quite a few Wonder Boy Collection games and we've got quite a few videos of the Wonder Boy series as I'm a huge fan of it on the channel already, so do take a look at them. So this one's going to be a quick voiceover of the new Wonder Boy Anniversary Collection that has been released by In Games. And just to note, I need to say a thank you to In Games and PR Hound, a PR company we've worked with, who provided us with a code to look at the game, so I need to let you know that in advance. But this is the Wonder Boy Anniversary Collection. I'm just going to click English here, so you can see there. This is the new Anniversary Edition. It came out this year. There was a version released last year that didn't have anywhere near as many games as that. That was just called the Wonder Boy Collection. That version I don't recommend in the slightest. There's just not that many games to it. But this one includes Wonder Boy, the original arcade game. You get the System 1 arcade version. You get the SG-1000, Sega Mark III, that's the Japanese Master System, the Master System, the Game Gear, and you get the North American Game Gear version. It was actually called, there's a mistake there, they say Game Gear World, that's incorrect. It's actually the North American. It was called Wonder Boy in Europe. The Wonder Boy in Monsterland, you get the Japanese System 2 arcade, you get the Japanese Sega Master System version, you get the English arcade version, which is an extremely rare arcade release. Initially there was some speculation it wasn't released, but I think I did actually play it a long time ago. And there was also the Master System version. You get the arcade version of Wonder Boy Monsters Lair, System 16, and you get the Genesis/Mega Drive version. So you get Monster World 2, we get Mark III, Game Gear, Master System and Game Gear. So you get the two Game Gear versions, the Japanese and the English. This is interesting because the Game Gear version is more a director's cut of Wonder Boy 3, or Wonder Boy 4. It's actually Wonder Boy 4. It was incorrectly called Wonder Boy 3 in Europe. We get Monster World 3, which is Wonder Boy 5, which is we get the Mega Drive, Genesis, and we get the Master System version. Genesis again, we don't get the Power one, and the Master System version, which was only released in Europe. And we get Monster World 4, we get the Mega Drive release, which is the original Japanese version, and then we get the later Genesis translation, which was done for the Wii Virtual Console. Same with the English release of Monster Land. It was supposed it was done for the Monster. I'm pretty sure I did play it. It was an extremely rare release, but it was the first real release it got was the Genesis collection. So you do get some galleries. This is quite nice. We do get some galleries with promotional art. Now there isn't a soundtrack gallery, disappointingly, and there is quite a few key art missing here. So although there's some nice promotion, some really nice promotional artwork, some of it from the series is missing. So you get those ones. So there's none of the artwork of the male character in Monster World 4, which is a real tragedy. I'd have really liked if they'd have actually included him. He wasn't included in the remake either, but yeah. You get all this nice new artwork. It's actually very nicely done. The anniversary stuff. Now that's the anniversary one. This is the Wonder Boy collection artwork. So yeah, that's a cropped version of the artwork from the actual game. So we've got the individual games illustrations. We've got the arcade file, but yeah, it's actually missing some of the artwork, so you don't get the unreleased artwork. I have flagged that within, and I will actually mention that again. Some of the artwork that's not. I'll just go through. You get lots of stuff. Game Gear World. Yes, it's not really World, it's North American version, so that's incorrect. Power one was called Wonder Boy because I have a Power one, but yeah, if I go to Monster World 4, this is probably the most disappointing one. This is missing all the unreleased artwork. all the concept art, and I've put some up on the blog actually if people want to see it. So there's quite a bit of artwork that should be included that's actually missing. It's a little bit disappointing, I have to admit. You've got the Mega Drive manual in full as well, which is quite nice. So there's lots of dev material. So yeah, they've got some of the dev material, but some of the artwork of the unreleased, unincluded. They were going to include a male character in Monster World 4 as a secondary player character, who should have been included in the remake. He wasn't because the remake wasn't particularly very good. I do get lots of the nice artwork. This is all in the SEGA Ages PS2 collection and more, which is the issue I have, that the PS2 collection does actually have more. But if you're a Wonder Boy fan, there is some great artwork here. It's just a shame some of it is missing. That was in the SEGA Ages 2500 PlayStation 2 collection. Welcome to Monster World. Okay, so that's enough. I'll just show you. I've previously covered the games before, so I'm just going to quickly cover a bit of each of them. So we've got the System 1 arcade version, which of course is the definitive version. Now, one change in this version compared to some previous collections is you do get maps. So we can actually see, and this is quite handy to see where things like the dolls are in order to unlock the hidden world. So, although the dolls should be made a little bit clearer than what they are, but as you can see there, we can zoom along the map. You can see that there's the doll there. We can zoom in. But I will say this now, the maps need some work, so I just go to round 2 just to demonstrate. There should be a coin in the centre of this picture there, it's missing. In fact, there's quite a few coins and stuff missing across the board. There's even some secret doors missing, unfortunately, so you've got one secret door there, but there's some other ones, so if I just demonstrate, go to the Master System version. They did actually do the match the Master System. So there it's actually present, the coin, in the Master System version. But if I go to this one, there should be a door smack bang in the middle of that picture, which strangely, if I go to the arcade maps, round 3, they've got it in the arcade version. It is there in the Master System version as well, but it's missing. So someone needs to go over and tweak the maps a bit. There's a lot of hidden stuff missing as well, disappointingly. You do get save states, you do get rewind as well, which is very helpful in the original Wonder Boy, seeing as it is a nightmare to beat on one credit because you have to get every doll in the game. You have to know where all the dolls are, and some of them incredibly well hidden. Now, one thing they have done is they've given you, to make a note of this, there's a new enhanced control system. So you get the original control system, which some people were quite concerned about because initially it looked like they've got a run button. They've also added in a run button. It kind of works because you can hold down R1 to run, so it's not too bad. You can change starting lives and the bonus difficulty. I think it's easy normal in the arcade or something. They changed it. Now, the one thing that is missing is the dip switch test option, sadly. So, this should have an option to activate a test mode. If I go to gameplay, and the test mode is quite cool because it allows you to start with the best equipment in the game, which is quite a cool little addition. That's not present. Same with, there should be a test mode in Wonder Boy 3 Monster Lair that it makes you invulnerable to play through it, which is quite fun for a bit of practice. Again, that is not present in the gameplay options, so those need to be added. I did actually give the Turtles collection flack for missing some key options, and to the credit for the Turtles collection, they did add in content. I will be giving in some slight complaints over this and Errata-like games. But just to show you, the emulation is pretty solid. This is probably the most cleanliest emulated, and I will say the music is actually better emulated in this than it was on the SEGA PlayStation 2 2500 collection. So this is the original Wonder Boy. Just quickly go through all the games quickly. I'm not going to show you every version, I'll just do all 6. Here are the arcade classic. But yeah, the emulation is spot on, and so if I take a hit, or I'll show you when I take a hit there, I can rewind it if I want, which comes in quite handy if you miss any of the dolls. This is actually one of the best versions to get all the dolls. Bear in mind, in the arcade version, in order to get to the final world, you need to get all the dolls. It is actually the same with the Master System version, but I think it's the 9th and 10 worlds are secret in the Master System version's actually got more levels, so... But this is an absolutely brutally hard game, the original Wonder Boy. I'm still always a huge fan of it. And you've got a whole... If I just search a video quickly so we can... You've got 1-to-1, you've got perfect, you've got 1-to-1, you've got 4-3, and you can even, if you want to stretch it, if you want to be some sort of monster, you can stretch the picture into some sort of monstrosity. Ooh, I hate... Stretching retro games never looks good, but you do get a couple of options. So you can get the arcade 4-3, which is how... This is how the arcades actually looked, because they would used to stretch. You'd have the pixel resolution, and then the game would be stretched into the slightly wider 4x3 resolution via the CRT. And if you're a perfectionist, you can actually get original perfect. And if you like your shaders, so we've got the rewind options, there are various... Yes, you've also got shader filters, so we've got crispy... Probably better I bring this up a bit just so you can see it. We've got crispy, soft... There's one wallpaper, so all you can do is turn it on and off, really. You can change the brightness. And you've got shaders as well, if you want. Pixel shader. And you can adjust the shapeness, sharpness. You can adjust the curvature, etc. I really don't like a lot of these ones. I have to admit, the scan lines is normally CRT round. No, I actually admit the scan lines wouldn't look like that. The scan lines don't actually look like this. Just go into game. Yeah, this is what a really old NAF CRT would actually look like. A more modern CRT would actually... turn the sharpness up, so it's perfect. Literally a more modern CRT would literally... look more like this, where you just literally have the faint outline of the scan lines, because the whole point was developers made their CRTs to literally get as sharp as possible, and I've got a proper widescreen CRT that just looks absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of those filters personally, but if you want them, they are there. These are pretty much the same options as most of the previous Ratalaika collections they've done. Right, let's have a quick look at the other games included. So, as I said, you get all the maps, just to show you, get the different versions. We've got the SG-1000, this is the really old version. Yep, in all its glory. That's one you spend about 30 seconds playing, I have to admit. This was that was included in the previous. This one does have the advantage that it has two releases not included in the previous collection, although it is missing some games that were also in the previous collection. So it's missing some of the PAL versions, which are in the M2 collection, but it has the English releases of Monsterland. Again, you get different screen options depending on the console, but But the Master System version really is a really great companion to the arcade because although it doesn't look quite as good, the visuals at the time really were very, very good. This is probably about as close to arcade perfect as you could get on the Master System. Especially for the time. Oh, I missed the extra there, but yeah. On the arcade, the visuals are almost on par with the arcade. And it looks great. I'm not going to show the Game Gear versions. I don't need to show you the Game Gear versions. But again, maps, you can do the maps. So zoom in, zoom out. I think it even shows the bosses on the maps as well. Only thing I wish there was slightly better traversing of the maps. Yeah, it shows you the boss and everything. On the Monster again, we get the Japanese, we get the Mark III, and we get System 2 World. I'll just quickly do the... Now, what was cool about the Master System version of Wonder Boy and Monster Land is it does actually add in an extra stage. It doesn't look anywhere remotely as good. Yeah, they have added in a battle for the wiggle, so you can do the wiggle trick. There's basically 4 tricks you can do to get bonus gold out of all the hidden gold. Unfortunately, they don't list the others, but one is getting hit into gold, one is shooting it with certain types of magic spells, and one is getting the sword, is to use the sword, take the sword, and medicine, good luck. So that's the English version. Is to, at the point of you reveal the gold, is to strike the sword. That's very tricky as well to do. The wiggle jump is by far the easiest. The M2 collection had the wiggle jump in, so they've obviously borrowed that from there. Yeah, so that one, the wiggle jump didn't work. That one it did, so second it didn't, third it did. If the wiggle jump works, you'll get about 60. Cocktail or beer? Yes, it's a kid's game and he's selling alcoholic beverages. Jump the last tree on the right hand side. There's a coin in it, so it gives you advice as always. And we previously covered the M2 collection, so I will quickly show you how this one is actually... This version actually has better emulation, certainly sound wise. The M2 collections, even on the 360, had incorrect sound. This one has pretty much perfect sound to the original. Especially for Monster World 4, which is one that is a game that really pushes the Mega Drive toward. Engage your challenge of trying to jump. Yep, I jumped the key without picking it up. Yeah, you get a coin from that tree. I must have got the jump not quite right. Okay, got perfect bonus, but yeah. 68 gold. Got a load of gold. You can buy better boots, and that means you can jump higher. So just show you can. The maps are quite handy, but they do need. Someone does need to go over them with a fine-tooth comb. So there we got a coin. I will just show one of the flawed maps. So that there is a coin up there. Sometimes they can be a bit problematic to get to actually. You have to get it just right with the jump. There we go. I'm not going to bother getting anything else. I don't know if that shows, so yeah, you got most of the coins and stuff are shown. I'm just going to show you the missing one, then I'll exit out of this game. We've already covered it. We've got individual videos of most of these games, and I previously reviewed the collection. So basically, if you want to see a review of the game, to look at our previous review we did some years back on the blog. So you'll notice there's no coin there. And voila, there was a coin there. It's missing on that map. Some of the maps do have layers, but this was, so I do show hide menu. You can switch it off layer 1, 2, but sadly that map doesn't. The layers are needed for some of the more complex maps in Monsterland, but yeah, I mean, it shows the maps aren't bad. They just need someone to go over. And I've got a video on the channel. If any of you are going to watch this video, I've got a video of the channel from the M2 playthrough where we basically showed that video, and basically they pretty much get everything in the game, so you can see exactly where all the stuff's missing. Master System version is fairly straightforward. This one actually has additional levels. This is my least favourite. I'll just quickly show this one. So as I said, this one is Wonder Boy 3 Monster Lair. This is the proper Wonder Boy 3. This is the final arcade game, and it was more a sequel to the original Wonder Boy crossed with a shooter. I dislike it intensely as a game. Yeah, you don't get different revisions of the arcade either. You only get one set revision, which I have no idea which it is for this one. So you can't swap to like the Japanese version, some of the different sets. The Mega Drive version is a pretty good port. Now, what you don't get is the PC Engine ports, disappointingly. I know I really like the Wonder Boy 4 Dragon's Trap PC Engine version. That has a superb soundtrack, but sadly we ain't ever going to see that. I doubt it, unless they can get all the copyright sorted out. The problem with the PC Engine versions is I think they need Konami's consent now to release them. So most of the games actually got PC Engine ports. I mean, Wonder Boy did get a NES port because it was the first Adventure Island game. Because Adventure Island weirdly started off as ports of the Wonder Boy games and then transgressed. Yeah, the weapons do give you 1 health back as well. This game is ruthlessly hard, and you have to beat it without using a credit in the last world as well, just to make things even harder. Proper credit muncher. The first few stages are reasonably balanced, and it just becomes unpleasantly hard. And there it goes. I've actually got a long play of this game on the channel if you want to see it, but I said it's my least favourite of the Wonder Boy games. And I do have the Mega Drive version. That one did actually get a PC Engine release as well, I think. So PC Engine wise, you definitely had versions of Monster World 2, Monster World 3, and I think Monsterland? A few of the... But yeah, none of the PC Engine versions are sadly included. So for many people, this will be the gem of the game on the collection. So I'll actually be cheeky and do the Director's Cut Game Gear version. For you as Monster World, overcoming various hardships. So again, to show you the screen options you've got for the Game Gear ones, you've got parity. I will probably... Actually, perfect's probably quite good in this one. You get slightly different screen options per format. I wish there was actually a customization one. There's not a just general customization where you can decide the pixel height and width yourself. Some of the M2 games had it, many don't, but I do think you should actually be able to have complete control over the pixel size. You should be able to. So this stage is actually basically the Dragon's Castle from the end of the previous game. I have to admit, Dragon's Trap, as much as I enjoyed it, I always have a complaint in the fact that it doesn't feel like there's a true final boss. You thought there'd be like one uber dragon at the end, and there isn't. It just ends after you clear the last curse. You don't really do much any in human form. I thought you should have done a last section in human form. It always felt a little bit unfinished to me. And even the remake has that problem. There should have been a 7th dragon. Effectively, this game retcons the end of Wonder Boy 2. I said this is actually Wonder Boy 4, so it's incorrectly called Wonder Boy 3 by Sega of Europe in the 90s, but it is Wonder Boy 4. This fight is purely tokens, so you'll notice he actually goes off screen in the Game Gear version. So the screen is a bit smaller. And of course we are now cursed. Downside with the Game Gear version, as you see, you do walk into a lot of enemies as you don't get much screen size. But as I said, it is overall the director's cut. There are a number of gameplay improvements. Something the remake didn't account for. There are some elements that are missing in this version that should have been. So there's the key. Let's get out here. Hold up. So I've shown most of these before in previous ones, just showing you what this is like in the new collection one. But for many, because this one was missing from the previous Wonder Boy collection on PS4, this is the first time it's included. And so you do get the Master System version, and you do get the Game Gear version. You don't get the remake version. You have to buy that separately on PS4. That was done by a different publisher. And the remake version is on PS4, and I think it's on PS5. The remake is very good. The remake of Wonder Boy is certainly better than the one they did of Streets of Rage 4. Okay, yeah, and this is the version where they swap out all the characters. They give actually got lots of individual characters, but yes, the password girl is now a girl instead of, or a woman instead of the smoking pig. Although I kind of wish the remake had incorporated the smoking pig and all the other characters that you see in this, so that way you would have actually had them all. The remake didn't do that. It wasn't quite that smartly done, so yeah, you get different shopkeepers. Because I like the fact you get additional shopkeepers in this, because the Master System version does only have the pig character, so it does get a bit tiring just seeing the pig character, but it's quite cool. He is a smoking pig, so he is a legend. Okay, so that's, you get the Master System one, and again, so the Game Gear version, so Monster World thing. You get the So you get the Mega Drive version. But for me, this is probably the best game in the franchise. And yeah, the Mega Drive is the Japanese version. The Japanese version has a couple of changes. There's a few differences in like the final boss fight and stuff. So if you play the Japanese version through, there are a few changes here and there. It's worth seeing. I think this doesn't give you a game over screen as well. You get reset when you die. This is a really good game on a Mega Drive. It looks absolutely beautiful. The beginning is of course a homage to the previous game in the series, Monster Land. Monster Land is actually the first of the Monster World games, which was called Monster Land. This is the fifth Wonder Boy and the third game in the Monster series. And yeah, I think this is like a shop that sells boots. Yeah, speeds you up as well, boots. Okay, so I said we previously covered a lot of this content on the PS2 conversion, so I'll just actually quickly load up the Mega Drive so we get rewind speed video. I'll just quickly show you. Erase save data. Also, you can erase your save data as well. And you do get maps, and these maps are far more. So you can get layers, and the layers take off different things. But yeah, this is quite handy, this one. So fortunately, there aren't secret stuff, so the maps are much better in this one. So everything should be there. It's the hidden stuff in Monster Land 2 that they're missing, but there might be one or two secrets missing. But yeah, the maps are really quite nice to navigate when they're all correct. Although a couple of them can be a little bit large to navigate. Okay, so if I actually bring up the monster. This one I think they probably could have slightly adjusted a few of the maps, because like home is massive. You look how big this is, this map here. It's actually got multiple layers as well, so bits will turn off and on. And it just flings you back to the start. You get the tower and everything. It was a really nice feature. I wish they'd done what they did in the Turrican one, where they had all the extra stuff with the maps actually present while you play. That would have been nice and handy. I'll show you. The Master System version is included, because I know the Master System version only got a European release. I mean, it is a cut down version, but it's still a nice extra to have. I do actually have this version, but this is actually quite expensive. I got this quite cheaply some years ago, back before prices started going ridiculous on eBay. But yeah, this version. Combat's not quite as good, and it's quite heavily cut down. There are actually a number of sections missing, but it's a nice one to have. So I should just again, you got the maps for this version. You'll see a lot of stuff's actually missing in comparison. It's quite a heavily cut down version, so I think a lot of the underwater stuff and away. A lot of the scenes are cut down. I think it's even missing a few locations, but yeah, it's a cut down version, but it's still nice to see. And the ship at the end, yeah, so there should be 4 bosses. Is there just the dragon? Oh yeah, there's only the so the Mega Drive version actually has 4 main bosses. Looks like you only get the 2 there. Now, one thing just to show you the sound quality. The sound quality in this collection is actually better than... So, this is the game I used to tell the quality of the animation in a lot of collections. So, I can actually tell because of the Ice Pyramid music, which is incorrectly emulated on most of the M2 stuff. And still to this day, M2's audio is not quite as good. So, if I go... Yes, up, down, left, right, right. I can cycle through the music. Now, the one theme I always check is Heart of the Ice Grave. This track is often incorrectly emulated. Again, you've got all the video options, but I just do... Strangely, you don't have the pixel option, which is a bit weird. So they are missing one of the... You go perfect to 4:3DR. They need to actually do a 1:1 pixel one. There should be an in-between option that's currently missing. So, but I'll just let you play out. If you know the Mega Drive version, you'll know this is actually very, very close to the original version, if not identical. In all the M2 collections, this is normally very tinny and often there's like a horrible added background effect that's not in this version. That's basically it's added in the M2 ones on this PlayStation 2 collection, but here it's pretty much spot on. But yeah, if I want to check the emulation of Monster World Collection, I do generally check the quality of that soundtrack, because that's one of the more tougher soundtracks in the game on the Mega Drive, and it's very easy for me to tell if a version's not quite up there with the audio, because that's normally the one track that just doesn't sound quite right on most collections if they don't emulate it properly. So yeah, that's all the artwork. I only briefly Estefan Village. This English translation was done for the Wii U, the Wii Virtual Console. I've got Wii U on the brain at the minute. But it was done for the Wii Virtual Console and since included in the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 games. And now it's included here. This one was included separately if you bought the retail version of the remake. The remake, sadly, is not very good. I know, I think Indian Games actually published the remake, or United Game Artists, but it's not very good. It really is not very good. One thing I will say, disappointment, the trophy list for this is actually quite... I'll just bring up the trophy list. The trophy list is a bit underwhelming. So it's a Collector 32. A couple of the games are actually totally missing. So Wonder Boy in Monsterland, you've got Wonder Boy Arcade, you've got Wonder Boy 3 Monsters Lair, you've got Release the Moon Spirit Monster World for the Sega Mega Drive version, and that's it. So there are no achievements for Dragon's Trap, and there are no achievements for Wonder Boy 5 either, the second Mega Drive game. So that is a little bit disappointing. Achievements or trophies. I'll briefly just do the start of this. I played this one to death. We've got about 3 videos on the channels. I've streamed it as well. But yeah, the music is definitely pretty much spot on. This is probably the best emulated version of the Mega Drive version to date. Don't think there's much lag either. Do make sure your telly's set up correctly for lag. And do bear in mind these analog buttons, if they're not set up correctly on these pads. So I have got fighting pads, and they're generally a little bit smoother as well than the standard core PS4 pads, which have analog buttons, and analog buttons do add in a slight slowness, especially if they're not set to the... So analog buttons, if it's done correctly, should be set to the very first value to represent a digital pad on these type of games, but often they're set to like a fuller press. So, but yeah, it's... In terms of what I'm seeing on game and how it's responding, I'd say it's pretty smooth. I'm just going to run past everything else. You actually need to get all those blue things. There was actually a couple of the games I think the independent, because there was the single release, and I think that one did have an achievement for getting all 50 blue gems. So yeah, there is the single release of this that was included in the retail version of the remake does include achievements, but I think that's one of the few to actually be included in the list. I don't know if the Wonder Boy... I assume the Wonder Boy collection may have achievements for Monster World or Wonder Boy 5, because that was the previous collection. I believe the previous collection included that version. But yeah, strangely, there are no achievements for Dragon's Trap, which many people probably would have wanted, so... Or trophies. Achievements on 360, trophies on PS3. Funny little story, no one likes including them in games, so when the PS3 first included them, no one would add them to the game, so that's why they made it a TRC. But yeah, a lot of people complain they're a bit of a pain to implement and add, and I suppose they are. They take away time doing other content, although if that's the case, just make your achievements just key unlocks and that's it. But yeah, all the animation plays fine. As I said, the music is by far the best I've heard on any emulated collection for this one. So Steve Snake's emulation of the Mega Drive I think is actually better than M2's, because this is actually using his emulator. Or at least it's using a later version of his emulator. It's not, the version they use is obviously not available in public domain now. I think it's an open source private version. But yeah, it's definitely better than the M2 stuff. So M2 normally had some great collections and stuff, but their base emulator for the Mega Drive is not as good as this one. But they generally add in the extras betterly, M2, which is probably why they included the test mode for Monster Land, and it's not present here, annoyingly. And Monster's Lair, so the test modes are in the M2 collection, but not in this one. Hopefully that'll be added in via patching, but we'll have to wait to see. But yeah, this is basically... As far as the games go for the Sega era, this is a definitive collection. It includes all the games from the Sega era and all the Japanese and English releases. The only thing it doesn't include is some of the PAL releases. Although that would mean you'd just be playing them in 50 Hz, unless you force them into 60. Although to be fair, I think the PAL versions of a lot of the Wonder Boy games were literally the North American code, just slapped on a PAL cartridge. Okay, and this is the bit where we raise the temple. So I think that's enough. That's just to show you a quick overview of the collection and all the extras and content in it. So it's got some nice features over the PlayStation. So in comparison to the PS2 M2 collection, this has a couple of extra games. It has better emulation of the Mega Drive. And it has some really cool maps that are actually very helpful. So for games like this, where the maps are actually quite large, they are actually quite helpful. So if I go to like the Ice Pyramid 3, you can see they are really nice, those maps. Again, they're really helpful. It's just a shame a few extras, hidden stuff are missing or something. But yeah, that's actually a really helpful map to navigate stuff. This section's actually a nightmare to play through in the Japanese version because of the Sphinx questions. The Desert Road, oh, the Frozen Sphinx. He was my nightmare on the Japanese release, trying to get through past him. But yeah, see that? Sky Castle as well. So these maps are actually pretty big. You realise how big this location is. I always remember playing through it. It's a big location. You've got sub-bosses as well. Above the clouds. So you've got all the locations. You get the idea. So that's pretty much, again, so the collection overall is a really nice set. I think this is definitely, if you've not got any of the previous Wonder Boy collections, this is definitely the best one. Don't bother with the Wonder Boy collection that was released last year. That was not a good release at all. This anniversary collection, as far as I go in terms of the games, is definitive. In terms of the emulation on the Mega Drive, is definitely the best one to date. Certainly the emulation of the arcades and everything seems above board as well. Where it falls down is the fact that it is missing content from the PlayStation 2 release. So there are some of the artwork and galleries. Again, some of the features like the test dip switches are missing from the PS2 collection as well. So on the whole, I think the presentation is nicer on the PS2 one as well. M2 do slightly classier presentation. The presentation seems a bit bare bones and basic, so you've got the credits there, which is quite nice, but again, it's just a straightforward plain thing. They've not even put like a little tracked screen or anything. The gallery's a bit bones. There's no sound test either. Where is the music? Why isn't there a proper gallery for the music? Why can't you listen to all the music? You know, you've got it in game. Why isn't there a proper sound test in game? There should be a sound test option that lets you listen to all the various tracks from all the games. I mean, you've got it in Monster World 4 via a cheat, so there should be a sound test. So it's not quite the definitive version, but it's probably the best version unless you want some of the extras that were included in the PlayStation 2 version. I think there's more extras in the PS2 version, I said the dip switches functionality, and a couple more of the versions, so to get the PAL, the NTSC. So one thing we'll say, Mega Drive, Genesis, no. Japanese Mega Drive, Genesis North American should be European, or PAL Mega Drive should be NTSC-J, NTSC-U and PAL regions. So really there should be the PAL ones. So I think a few of the PAL games may have some slight change as well, although like I said, that is actually the PAL version. But of course it'll probably be running at 60 Hz because most of the... I don't think any of the games were optimised for PAL. I think they were literally the North American code. But yeah, it's a very much definitive version. There's no Wonder Boy remake either. That's done by a different company on PS4, but that is available. And you don't get access to the Monster World 4 remake, which is also available. Again, that's not particularly very good, the Monster World 4 remake. They missed the trick not restoring the missing hero and probably expanding the game by adding in a few dungeons. I think Monster World 4 on its own is a little bit of a short game in some areas. It needed more content. It probably needed a bit more open world just to be able to revisit areas and stuff, which it was always lacking, and the remake didn't do that, so the remake was also a bit not great quality, but it is available. So there's remakes of Wonder Boy Monster World 4 and of Wonder Boy Dragon's Trap as well. The Dragon's Trap remake is superb. But yeah, as far as the collection goes, this includes all the Sega versions. Doesn't include the PC Engine versions, although to date no collection has included the PC Engine versions, I think because they would need Konami involved. But overall, if you're a Wonder Boy fan and Monster World fan, this is definitely a great pickup if you want to get all the games on a modern system. And the rewind function is very handy, especially for Wonder Boy being able to beat the game. Oh yeah, there is a test mode as well in Wonder Boy. I should say that there is actually... Okay, it does have the test mode for Wonder Boy, the free play one. But yeah, so you get the standard screen options these collections have all had. So this is the same as the Tarakan. The Ninja Jar Jar one as well, which I'll be looking at in the near future. But overall, it's a nice set. If you're a Wonder Boy fan, this is definitely a must-have. It is available at retail, but only via strictly limited games. It is out now if you want to grab a copy, and it's available on the shop as well. And there's a retail version and there's a digital version. Strictly limited games have done the retail version, and in games done the digital one, although they are both part of the same company, which is United Game Artists. But that's it from me, Random Gamer Riven. I wish you a good night, a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world right now. And I do hope you stay tuned to the channel. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Do check out our Twitch as well. Do check out the Tumblr blog, please do as well. And do stay watching this video if you enjoy it. Don't just run off after 5 minutes and or just click to the end summary. But yeah, as I said, very good collection, but not definitive. There are a few issues. The maps need some work as well. They are disappointing. There's no video playthroughs as well. The M2 version included a replay function to save your replays, and that's really good. So this collection could probably do with stuff like that, so you could record your replays. And the M2 collection also has a preloaded super play, so you could watch them and see where all the stuff was in the game and how to play it. And those super plays are absolutely fantastic for basically how to play through the game. They were done by some very skilled Japanese players. But that's enough from me. I'll see you all in the next video.